Hi there, I'm Tim and welcome back to the Plytics Academy. In this lesson, we're going to explore attributes and data taxonomy. To better understand these concepts, first, we'll talk about what attributes are and how to group them. Next, we'll take a closer look at how to get started creating attributes and how to establish your own product data taxonomy. Finally, we'll explore the different areas in PIM that will help you organize your data better by creating categories, variations, and relationships for your products. Let's get started. Alright, so what exactly are attributes? Well, you might already be familiar with the concept, but by a different name, such as properties, values, fields, or data points. No matter the name, the idea is the same. Attributes are characteristics that make up your product data. So if you're used to organizing your product data in spreadsheets, your products would be your rows and your attributes would be your columns. Now, let's get back to our example from the last lesson. What kind of attributes do you remember? We had things like title, description, color, size, and material. And that's just scratching the surface. Every company and every product will have different attributes. It all depends on how you define your product data and what information is most relevant to your company and your customers. If you're still not sure where to begin creating attributes and how to organize your product data, Google's selling requirements is a great place to start. Plus, they meet industry standards. Google separates product information into three groups: basic information, rich information, and variant information. Basic information includes attributes like a product's title, important identifiers such as SKU or GTIN, and product categories. Then, rich information would include enhanced product details like descriptions and features, and media assets such as photos and videos. Finally, there's variant information, which is where you will define the variation of your products, which only differ in a few attributes, such as color and size. Keep in mind that you can create your own groups within the PIM. These could match Google's grouping, or you might want to create your own, like marketing info and logistics, or even channel specific, like Amazon info in my Shopify store. Attribute groups will make it easy for your team to quickly find and update the product information they're looking for. Now that we have a clear concept of what an attribute is, and a starting point for creating and grouping them together, it's time to talk about attribute types. And to better understand that concept, let's jump back to our t-shirt. Depending on the attribute we want to define, we can choose from a variety of attribute types to make data input easier and sort through multiple products faster. For example, let's take the attribute size. Sizes are quite repetitive, and there's usually a small range of options to choose from extra small to extra large. So the easiest way to input this information would be to select from a list of values, which means you want the size attribute type to be a dropdown. However, for an attribute like price, a drop-down menu doesn't really make sense because we're looking at numbers and there are many potential values. For price, you'd be better off with a numerical field that accepts decimal points. In Plytics, we call this attribute type decimal. There are also attribute types for your media files. For example, if you have a designated hero image for your storefront, you can assign an asset for that. No matter what kind of data you're dealing with, in PIM, there's an attribute type to match it. Now that we've covered what attribute types are, let's take a quick look at why they're important. First, attribute types help optimize product data for different sales channels by restricting possible values. Whether you sell on Amazon, Shopify, or any other channel, each will have their own data handling requirements, which means you want to format your product attributes in a way that makes syndicating data a smooth process. For example, if your product comes in various colors and you have your color attribute set up as a dropdown, you can ensure that the options match the values accepted by your preferred channel, like only allowing blue instead of sky blue. A second advantage of attribute types is that they eliminate data errors and will help keep your data consistent. A good example for this is using a decimal attribute type for price. In a spreadsheet, you can easily end up with a column full of prices that are all formatted differently. Some including the currencies, others don't. Some including the cents, and others don't. By using a decimal attribute for your price, you'll guarantee that the price input will always be structured the same, which will keep your data clean and error-free. A third advantage of attribute types is that they help you search and filter through your data quickly. For example, if your price is set up as a decimal in PIM, you could filter for all your products with price less than 20, and voila, a super simple way to surface all your bargain products. However, if your price were set up as a text field, you wouldn't be able to do the same numerical filtering and comparison. Now that we understand what attribute types are and what value they bring us, let's talk about data taxonomy. Taxonomy is the science of organizing and classifying within a hierarchy. It's structuring large volumes of information, your product data, in a way that's easy to understand. You start broad, and you go narrow. A great way to get started with your product data taxonomy is by setting up categories, which will ultimately help you navigate your product catalog more efficiently because your products will be sorted into groups and subgroups. You want to set up your categories in a hierarchy, from broad to narrow, so it takes the form of a tree. Let's revisit our t-shirt. We may name the overarching category something like apparel and accessories. And from there we have two subcategories, apparel or accessories. If I drill down on apparel, I have further subcategories like t-shirts, pants, and socks. Whereas if I look at the accessories branch, I have hats and neck warmers. When setting up your PIM, it's important that you categorize your products, starting with a large overarching product group that will branch into smaller subcategories. This will allow you to easily filter and find what you're looking for and help you create lists with specific products. Creating categories is also an essential part of selling online so that your product catalog is easy to navigate. If you want more detailed information on how to create well thought out categories, check out the link in our resource section at the end of this lesson. Another way to keep your data clean and organized is by defining product variations. Simply put, product variations allow you to know how many different versions of the same core product you offer. For example, if our t-shirt comes in 5 different sizes and 4 different colors, I have a total of 20 different variations of the same t-shirt. Establishing variations allows you to group products together that are essentially the same, with a few small differences like size and color, and has the added benefit of allowing you to sync any updates that are made to the core product to all of its different variations. What's that look like in practice? Say I want to change the price for my t-shirts from $10 to $15. Rather than having to update all my 20 shirts one by one, I can just update the core product and then carry that information down to all of its variations. In the world of PIM, a core product is called a parent, and all of its variations are children. In order to create variations, you need to determine which unique product or SKU will be the parent, so that you can then sync up all of its children. There's 2 options when it comes to deciding on a parent product. The first one is to create a dummy or a virtual parent. This is not an actual product that you sell, but it will hold all of the common information that is shared between the parent and the child product. The second option is to establish one of your actual sellable products as the parent and the rest as the children. So, which system is better? Well, there's no right or wrong. The key is to follow a system that makes sense for your company and the places where you sell your products. Before you decide, make sure to check the requirements your e-commerce channels have in place. Some require the use of a dummy parent product, while others require a sellable parent. Another great way to organize your product data and to show how different products connect is through relationships. Think of product relationships in commercial terms as a way to show cross-sell, upsell, compatibility, or bundle opportunities. We may want to show bundle option for our t-shirts that includes shorts and a pair of socks, or upsell opportunities such as the same t-shirt design, but in a higher quality material. Establishing product relationships will likely be one of the last things you do, as you should first focus on creating attributes, organizing your products into categories, and linking parent and child products. You've done a great job on lesson 2, and now it's time for a little recap before your lesson quiz. In our data taxonomy and attributes lesson, we've learned what data taxonomy is and why it's important. We also looked at the different ways to establish data taxonomy within your PIM, by creating and grouping attributes, and by setting up product categories, variations, and relationships. So now it's time for you to show what you've learned. Good luck on your quiz, and I'll see you in our next lesson on digital media and assets.